Okay, so Season 2, Race 4 is at Bathurst. I'm doing the lap in the Toyota Supra Gr3 machine. Bathurst, very tricky. Easy to make mistakes, and the mistakes can be extremely costly. So, as we approach turn 1, braking reference. The roof on the left there from the pit buildings just as disappears from view. Trail braking towards the apex, getting off the brakes at the apex and onto power, running all the way wide over the curbs. You want to be careful of oversteer on the curves, making sure they got wheels straight when you're up to full throttle. The approach for turn 2, you're taking the path of least resistance, moving the car all the way over to the left hand side, being as close as you can to the grass verge. Brake marker for me in the Supra is about halfway through that access road there, just as it disappears from view. It's heavy braking zone. Trail braking towards the apex, keeping a tight line to the inside, building the throttle, avoiding the curbs on the exit. So the approach to turn 3 is a little lift of the throttle to get the front end to bite, tight to the wall, immediately braking for the hairpin, trail braking towards the apex, but off early and up to full throttle as early as possible, managing any oversteer that you may receive. Okay, so the uphill section at Bathurst, you don't want to be using any brakes. It's all about car positioning and managing the throttle as you accelerate all the way up the hill. Okay, so for the first 3 corners going up the hill, there's no lifts. You start wide to enter, you clip the apex, and you run wide on exit. For turn 8, a lift is required in most Group 3 machines. It's all about timing. You want to clip the curb on the inside and run all the way wide to the wall, being brave. And then for turn 9, there's a lift before you go up and down the hill. If you lift as you go over it, you're going to unsettle the car, and it's likely that you're going to oversteer into the grass on the right hand side here. Okay, so the first braking reference for the downhill section is the advertising board just as it disappears from view. You're going to be braking to bleed the speed into a really heavy braking zone here for this right-hander. Keeping tight to the wall to set yourself up for the next left-hander. There's a bump in the road here that will unsettle the car, so be careful with your throttle inputs, and up to full speed as soon as you know you're not going to get any oversteer from the rear end of your car. Okay, so for this corner, lift into it. Now there's a dip in the road just ahead here. You want to make sure that you're braking before you get to it. Trail braking towards the last corner before Conrod. Up to full power as early as possible. The earlier that you're up to full power means your speed down this very long straight will be higher. Okay, so the brake reference for the chase is the 150 board. I'm braking just as I pass it. Getting down through the gears as quick as possible. Trail braking towards the apex. Picking up the throttle as soon as possible, running wide on exit, and then making a dash towards the final corner. Brake reference for the final corner is just past the 100 board here on the right hand side. Heavy braking again, and then trail braking towards the exit, picking up the throttle as early as possible to carry the speed towards the start finish line. Okay, so that's a lap with all its brake references. Let's see what it looks like at full speed. Okay, so brake reference for turn 1 is the pit building on the left hand side as it disappears from view. Starting from the right hand side, clipping the apex and running wide on exit. You want to be on throttle as early as possible to carry the speed up the straight here. Gently moving the car over to the left hand side for turn 2. Don't over brake here. Spot your braking, trail brake towards the apex and get on the power early again. Moving the car back over to the right hand side. Lift to take this corner and onto the braking for the hairpin. Up to throttle as soon as possible. Car positioning key through the uphill section. Making sure that we're entering corners from as wide as possible. Spotting the apexes, spotting the exits. Being as brave as you possibly can, running as close to the walls all the way up the uphill section. Position the car correctly to enter the downhill section. Again, running it close to the walls as possibly can. Be brave. Lap time is going to be rewarded if you're brave with the walls and apexes. Now it's a really long straight. As you can see here, I'm going to be slightly distracted by the car in front. I'm trying to stay out of his slipstream so that it doesn't really show in the lap time. Okay, so the brake reference for the chase is really important. Again, don't late brake, don't push your luck. Get it turned in and up the throttle as soon as possible. Get the car positioned more over to the right. Again, I'm trying to avoid the car in front. And then up the throttle for the start finish straight, get to the line as quick as possible. Okay, so tier A, with low fuel and practice, I think we're going to be seeing sub 201s. It's going to be a good race. Good luck, everybody.